Welcome to the Bronx, home of the Yankees, the birthplace of hip-hop, and the Black Spades.
The biggest, most notorious, and feared gang in New York City, Black Spades.
There was no other name for the Black Spades but the Black Spades. And any other name, anyone who tells you that is telling you a falsehood.
Hey, Paul!
If I skip that, we moved to the Bronx after my dad died. So about 12, 13 years, we moved to Bronxdale Project.
Around what year was that?
That was 60, maybe 65.
Okay, yeah.
65. Yeah, we moved to Bronx, and there my mama, of course, was sitting in the tenant association and attending all these meetings and functions. And I just thought that was a wonderful thing to do. And she constantly told me that it was important. It was so important to be an integral part of your community, not just live there. So my mother would make us do things in the community, join every organ. I was in the Sea Cadets, the Marine Cadets, I was in the Boy Scouts, I was in the Explorers. All right, how I mixed that in with the Black Spades is another thing, but that's what my mom made me do. And from that, I began to create organizations. So in my neighborhood, I was one of the leaders to start clubs. The first club I started was a singing club because I sang in the church and I could sing. I can't sing like I used to, but I still can sing a bit. So I started a singing group. From the singing group, we started other groups. And before you know we're doing anything, start a group just to hang together as kids. Mostly in our community, cleaning things, doing things in the community. And this is Bronxdale. This is Bronxdale 1969-70. And then things began to change.
How old were you in 69, 70?
I believe I'm 16 or 15 years old. Because I remember that when I started the Black Spades, I was 15 years old. And I was in 7th grade, in junior high school 123. As I mentioned, my dad had passed, but my mom had remarried to my present dad, my stepdad, and he was a businessman, started his own business. Didn't have much time for me. Therefore, I took my time and began to develop and use it for whatever I could. But things began to change in 1965, 66. Things changed. The first thing that happened, we had a large influx of Puerto Ricans who came into the Bronx, and particularly Northeast Bronx where we were. Because we weren't, I want to be clear, we were not in the South Bronx. We were in the Northeast Bronx, but our friends and family and every connection was in the South Bronx. James and Karen was the high school, junior high school that we all attended in Bronxdale Project, at least from my side, 1670 on. And while there, in 7th grade, we noticed this large influx of Hispanics coming into the community in our school. And we didn't know how to deal with this, particularly someone speaking a little language not English. So we took up the typical thing that many Americans do. Who are these people coming in our community talking about this thing? Then they began to gather in certain parts of the school that they would take and make it theirs. And, we were like, wow, how they do that. And the wonderful thing about that community when they came was that they supported each other very strongly. The Puerto Rican community, those folks who moved at that point were very supportive of each other, took care of each other. And we learned a few things from them as well. The cohesion that they had and how they looked out for each other.
Absolutely.
But there was another part of that we didn't, I think we might have been jealous of, and that they communed together with everything. So the lunchroom became segregated. We had the Puerto Ricans over there, and the blacks over here, and the whites over there. That was the first thing we all noticed. And then some groups took over our section that was ours forever. That's how the first beef began. The first beef began in the lunchroom. And from the lunchroom, we began to organize ourselves from the lunchroom beef, I should say. And then one horrible winter day, I remember this like it was yesterday, my buddy Douglas Fauntleroy was slashed from the top of his face all the way down. I never forget seeing the first time as a young kid, seeing such a wound, and got him to the hospital, and then we decided, okay, we're going to organize, we're going to start as a club to protect ourselves from the Puerto Ricans. Different cousins and different friends we had across the Bronx. Because our idea was not to just have this Black Spade organization here, but we wanted to spread out. But let's go back to 123. So now we got us a little gang. By the way, we're not as big as the Spanish gang or the Puerto Rican gang. Their name was called the Social Lords.
The Social Lords. Everything was something Lords.
Because if you remember back in the 50s, many of the gangs had Lords as their last name. So this Latin gang, because I'm sure it was more than just Puerto Ricans, a part of it, Puerto Ricans were the main set, they called themselves the Social Lords. So now you got the Social Lords and the Black Spades in 123. There's a small contingent of white folks, but they're moving out now. They're moving up and they're moving out. Because another reason why the Spades was created was because we were surrounded by white folks on every area. So you had Castle Hill, you had Patelli Avenue, you had up Rosedale, even Monroe Project still had a large white population, or should I say leaving, they were leaving. But we were hemmed in. So as a kid, when I left Watson Avenue, sometimes I couldn't walk up to Castle Hill because the white guys see it, then they beat the shit out of us and we had to run back.
Kids and adults?
Kids, of course. The adults were worse than the kids. We really had control of, but the adults who had cars, and we didn't have cars, and we didn't have a license, would chase us and beat us, and so that was happening too. At the same time, we were building Stevenson High School. They were building Stevenson High School, and they were building Bruckner Boulevard. And those areas were kind of our areas to go and play, because beyond that, you ran into the white contingent, and your ass was grass. So I don't want to just say the progenitors or the cause was just the Puerto Rican gang, but we had a lot of stuff going on also around us. And I would say that our main incursions were not with the Social Laws, but our main incursions began with the white gangs, the White Angels, the Golden Guineas, the White Americans, I believe. There was a couple of them missing, and they were our biggest protagonists. But that was our issue. We eventually solved our problems with the Puerto Rican gang in 123 because David Brockington had a fight with their leader. And David Brockington won. Now, my memory doesn't serve me how that happened, but I do recall that we had probably one rumble in schoolyard with sticks and knives with the Social Lords, and whatever outcome I don't remember, I do remember that no one got hurt. So it's probably one of the only times I remember that we had, but no one got hurt, but a couple of people just got in ran. At that point, we were still novices of being gangs and what we should do, carry. That, of course, changed after a while. I'm sorry. All right, so let me see where we're at now. So we're at 123. Gangs started. We have gangs now. The culture is changing in the school. Instead of us going to school now, we're going to school to be cool. We're going to school to be a gang. We're going to school to meet in the lunchroom, find some trouble. And that's how our era in 123 ended. The next part of this story picks up as we all graduated and some of us went to Stevenson. Most of my crew went to Stevenson, other place, and Stevenson was a new school. Getting to Stevenson meant leaving your community and going into at that point, white community. And that's where we began to really formulate into what we would call a gang. And that's when we really formulated into becoming a dangerous gang. All right. At this point, based on the things that were going on around us, we began to arm ourselves very well. The Vietnam War was going on, and we had ways of securing weapons and different things based on many of the soldiers that were coming back. We had a couple of those guys come back and become a part of us and help us train and organize. And that's a whole nother part of it. I'm trying to take this slow, so we'll go. But when we get to Stevenson now, we began to expand. We get chapters in Bronx River. We get chapters in Monroe. We get chapters in Castle Hill. We get chapters in Philadelphia. We get chapters in the South. So at this point, we are growing immensely. And that's why one of the reputations we had as the Black Spades as the largest, because our intent was to spread and expand. And we probably have more chapters than any of the other gangs, but we didn't have control of all those chapters.
As spade leadership, were you able to, on the flip side, able to broker any truces and any positive relationships?
I never got involved with truces. That was Bam Bam. We sent Bam Bam to the HoeAve, well, I guess conciliatory meeting. I guess you guys might know about that.
Yeah,
where they had the gangs.
171.
That's a, I hate to say it, but that's a big bullshit.
Yeah.
First of all, they blame the Spades because we began, I believe because of the input of the news and daily news and certain white individuals instigating, and police and different people began instigating this racial climate. So when Black Benji got killed, they immediately said it was the Spades. No one really knew who killed Black Benji except the kid that was with him.
Yep.
So at that point, there was so much, I believe, infiltration through COINTELPRO on us that they tried to get us to come to a meeting. And, the hierarchy of the Black Spades, we sat down with them and said, we're not going to do that. Because we think at this meeting, this is the trap to get us in. Plus, we knew Ted Gross was going to be there. And a couple other people. Whoa, we're not going.
Yeah.
We actually attended a meeting with Ted Gross in Park Row, and he called the cops on us on the way out. We had to battle out there. I mean, they beat our asses from Park Road to the damn train station after calling us to a conciliatory meeting. We go outside and we're about to leave, and they got these guys, their white shirts and their blue helmets. They started whipping our ass coming out of there. So when they called the whole Avenue meeting, I didn't even think those people were going to show up, but they did. So we said, Bam Bam, he went and he spoke a little bit. But the meeting ended. The greatest peacemakers in the gang era were the Ghetto Brothers. Yellow Benji, Charlie, those my boys. Now those guys, they were truly activists. Yep. We lost our minds. The Ghetto Brothers, even though they fought, their little spot where 161st, you go by there on Friday, you hear them play music. That's what they did. They played music. But when you fucked with them, they were ready. And they were quickly organized because they were already natural social organizers.
Sure.
They were organizing their communities to do positive things. I used to go over there I was one of the lone Black Spades would go over there, hang with them, smoke some weed, sit there and listen to them play music. And of course they had the fine women there. And we became very, very good friends until this action started happening and they had to take sides and became a Black Latino thing, which was conjured up by the newspapers. But that whole meeting didn't do shit.
Yep.
All right, all it did was introduce us to the Javelins, who were crazy. Those boys were Vietnam vets, and many of them, I believe, were drug addicts, but they were Vietnam vets. They had nice cars, and they'd kill you. Okay, we want to fight around a little bit, they'd kill you. So, that's what we found out about the Javelins going to that. Oh, these guys are bad. All right, we might have to do it, we have to get a little tougher with these guys, but that whole Avenue meeting, was just, the venue was great because they opened it up, we were able to go there sometime and party and, meet people and get out of there, but it's given more credit than it was.
That's right, because like you mentioned, rumbles continue to happen
all the time. Actually, after that, it didn't get any better. I remember the Seven Immortals. What's his name? The president of Seven Immortals. We got into something at Soundview Project, and it continued. It continued.
Yep. Absolutely. Did you all have a lot of run-ins with like the Savage Skulls, Savage Nomads?
Savage Skulls were, we liked the Savage Skulls, but again, it was racial animosity, They were mostly Latino. Now here's the thing, the Savage Nomads, which was a Latin gang, was headed by a Black man. Black Benji. You guys know anything about him? All right, really, he was from the Caribbean, but could speak Spanish. So he was able to garner his group, and mostly when you saw him, he was speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
But he was one of our rivals. We had a couple of rumbles with them. Nothing all out. I don't think. Nothing all out, but we had some stuff with them. Seven Immortals, Savage Skulls, and we're crazy. But we kind of got along with them because we both liked to wear stomper boots and stuff like that. Our dress was really crazy. So they kind of, I don't remember having too much against them. Again, mostly, you know, some of the stuff, I hate to say, was just us killing each other.
Yeah.
Any
Because we had
interactions with the bachelors? Any of the bachelor
the
groups?
bachelors, yeah, 140th Street right there, right? Cypress? Oh, yeah,
right.
man. They actually, I believe, Oscar
Yep, the Cypress
is
Bachelors,
familiar
yeah,
with
that's
them,
right.
and about 10 years ago, we got into a conversation about them because I got hit in the head with a bat by these guys, and that was the pool stick guy. No, I don't remember now. Yeah. Anyway, I got knocked out by these guys. I was all the way unconscious. I was able to get to a bus and get the hell home or whatever, but they were a pretty tough group. They weren't expansive like we were.
Yeah, sure.
They stayed pretty local where they were in their neighborhood. But that was another one, racial stuff, you know, started by these damn folks. But yeah, man. Yes.
Now,
It's all these memories, man.
you
It's just rushing on.
you
boy.
mentioned
smack in the middle of Royal Javelins territory, and the president of the first division was right on that block, and I became best friends with his younger brother, the third youngest, Raymond Aguilar. You know, we're still friends to this day, but they had a younger club from the high schoolers, junior high schoolers, and they were called the Flames. And we played basketball as well. But anyway, when I joined up with them, to make a long story short, I'm going to tell you the whole story, but this is the neighborhood where I learned how to play sports, because when I moved there, I was about 12 years old, something like that. Yeah, about 12 years old. And I had never played sports before. I never played basketball, I never played football, I never played baseball. I learned how to play all those sports there. So for me, it was like a brotherhood, you know. They were like my family, you know what I'm saying? So in terms of gang life, we were protected by the older gang, the Javelins, but we had our own scrimmages against other younger gangs as well, you know, and there's some funny stories behind that because we used to make zip guns as well. But anyway, in terms of the dancing, because this is what I want to get to. But it's over there by Southern Boulevard and Freeman Street, right? The first boys club used to right there before they moved it to 173rd Street, which is where they had that peace meeting in 1971. I was actually at that meeting as a member of the Royal Javelins.
That's the 2 and 5 line, right?
That's the 2 and 5 line, right? To 174th Street. Then once the corner of 173rd Street and Hoe Avenue is the entrance of the boys club, which is where we had that meeting in 1971. It was on December 7th.
71 or 72?
71.
71. Because I heard a lot of 72 thrown out.
No. It was on 71. Because that year, I know that there was only 9 gang-related murders, and in 72, there were 54 gang-related murders. Okay? So, one a week. You know what I'm saying? So, the numbers jumped. So, that meeting did not produce peace. It just peace between the people that killed Black Benji. There were 3 gangs, the Black Spades, the Mongols, and the 7 Immortals, right? So I don't want to get too much into that because that's all that stories.
But I tell you as a Latino about the race wars was real. Us Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Hispanics were dying out there getting beat down and weren't getting along with blacks. Charlie Chase was responsible.
Puerto Rican, and I wasn't Italian, and everybody mistaken my race. I couldn't go into the projects. They thought I was white. I had a gang of black kids surround me and they put shit on my hand and everything and told me to go back to Little Italy white boy before they fucked me up.
So early days was really rough, and I always want to emphasize on this that, you know, back in the 70s, in the early 70s, everybody was really stuck to their communities. And I'm bringing in a guy who's going to talk about, you know, Black Benji and the peace treaties. But prior to the peace treaties, there was no peace treaty. It was all war. And if you go into the wrong neighborhood, you know, you definitely will have to pay your dues in that neighborhood. And that goes back to a lot of crews that come from Bronx there. You know, they like to represent that they were the first ones to did breakdancing or up rock or top rock, whatever they called it at the time. But they did it in their community. They didn't come out of their community. And we didn't go into their community. That came later in time.
Here's the thing about a lot of...
You ain't gonna come in our area. Now, did you guys do a lot of martial arts? Because, you know, it was for years, it was that I didn't realize that Ahmed and all those cats were like trained, and people like Mike Ski and all these, I mean, all these cats is almost like that's all they did. So, I mean, was that part of the regiment, or that was just something?
In the Black Spades, it was like the whole first chapter was straight on martial arts, would tear your ass up. You know, that's what really put a lot of fear in a lot of areas too, because the whole first section of Brownsdale, Black Spades from Monk to Blackie and Guru and all them, Snoopy was straight up martial artists that would break your neck. And Snoop was even an ex-Vietnam veteran and was no joke with the martial art, and they made sure a lot of the members was trained into that, you know, certain martial artists and stuff.
So it was kind of like that movie, The Warriors.
Oh, it's like The Warriors. In fact, The Warriors movie is in a way based on the Black Spades in general, but it's mixing with all the gangs. But the thing of trying to get back to Brooklyn, because even in Education of Sonny Carson, which was more deeper, which had real members in the movies, the Spades, they had to cut the Spades out because Spades started beating and attacking all the other gangs for real. And seeing the Jolly Stompers and all those other groups, and it was groups like the Jolly Stompers that even rolled near the Tomahawks. They both got together and rolled into I think Bloomingdale's and just marched in and took everything they wanted and marched out. So, you know, back then it was a big serious gang scene that was going on in New York City at that time. You even had the Chinese gangs down in Chinatown, the Ghost Shadows and Black Dragons. That it was almost like the movie The Wanderers, like don't F with the Wongs and stuff. Right. They just take this.
When I was with Ahmed and them, we was up at Castle Hill. They was talking about all the white gangs that was up around that area.
War Pigs. Yeah, the War Pigs, the Bronx Aliens, all the way back to Drosneck. It's part of the North Bronx you knew not to step in. Like Drosneck was an area, the projects was a lot of blacks and, you know, poor citizens in it, and all outside, surrounded by the vanilla suburbs and stuff. And they had a lot of help trying to get out, catch the 40 bus to travel, and some certain sisters would give, you know, the guys be trying to bother, and a lot of times we had to go up and attack these groups. And then when Lehman High School came up, all hell broke loose. When Stevenson opened up, it was already broke loose, and all the black Latino groups got the whites out of it. So when Lehman opened up, it was a lot of white groups, and they gave all the blacks a lot of trouble. And then that's when in the Bronx you start having Get Whitey Day, Get Nigga Day. So when the whiteys get it, you get all the groups. That's the only time the Bronx was so powerful. When they could fight each other, but when it came, like blacks and Puerto Ricans, Dominican, whatever, when they had to fight the white groups, all that crap would stop with each other, and they focus on let's go get these devils, these crackers, all that stuff you were calling each other. And then when you attack certain schools like Columbus, Lehman, and you leave after beating them up, then here comes the army of white groups. Let's get Nigga Day, and you better be running your ass home, or Kingsbridge, going to Kennedy, and Kingsbridge be out there, the Irish waiting.
Because like on Kennedy, they would be on top of the roofs near the projects, because Kennedy is near Marble Hill, because that's where I lived for a while, and the white guys would be on there and shoot pellet guns at you, and would come into the projects and go after you. there was no fear about going into the projects at that time.
You had Italians and Irish that had no problem to fight you.
I'm from Queens, and yo, we had plenty of problems with the Irish. Plenty of them, okay, in Flushing. Well, one thing that's always blown my mind, it was the height of the Black Power movement, and you guys were